All right. Let's get this party started in here. All right, let's see what's going on here. I think we had a big move for 8:30 news. I think we had a pretty big move. Yeah, so we had pretty big move pre-market, I guess, from the news. Taking out these highs up here. Alright. Got view op all the way down at the 306 level. Would be interesting to see maybe a pullback into this kind of high range here. First of all, I'm waiting either way for the 5-minute range to form. See what goes on from there. We do have an area where we could pull back to the 200 right here. So we do have room after sweeping those highs, but at the same time, taking out these highs, we could go for lows. So that's something you got to be careful of. Because we have pre-market lows all the way down there, so gonna kind of want to wait for this thing to... There's the sweep. Be nice to maybe for it take out some of these lows. Maybe take the low down there. What that low is at 323 level, which would be right at view op. So I'm gonna either way wait for this 5-minute range to form. Looks like it's going down. We got about 30 seconds left. Man, that 5 minutes went by freaking fast. Alright, there's the 5-minute high. And then we'll wait for this low to get set in. About to close. About to close. 20 seconds left. Okay. Alright, there's that 5-minute low. Go to the 1-minute chart. Now we do have, right, go back to the 5-minute real quick. Do have some things to be careful of, right? We do have an imbalance down here, right? So we have an imbalance down there that could potentially get filled. Buyers could start stepping in. That's something to be mindful of. So that 22 level, got to be careful of. We got view op down there too. That's an area where buyers probably are going to start trying to step in if they can get it down there. Right now, we're reacting off a bullish imbalance. Right here, you can see to the left, we got this bullish imbalance there. Failing to close below the 5-minute low. So buyers stepping back in. I mean, if we could really start displacing above and start really breaking these highs and start pushing, I would be interested in a long. We'll see. Right now, this is a kind of toss-up. You don't know. It's retesting these previous support level as resistance. So, to me, the fact that we took out those highs up there is a red flag that we could start breaking lows. We could start displacing below view op. Now, if we really start breaking below view op, that is a pretty big red flag for the bulls. So, we'll see. We got view op, we got the 200, we got the pivot point down here. So, kind of a dangerous area to short if we break below this low. I would much rather prefer to see possibly for us to take out some of these lows, start pushing back in the 5-minute range, showing strength back up to the upside for it to really hold this level. It really depends on how the buyers are going to defend that level. We've closed outside the 5-minute range. So we'll see if it displaces. So far, it hasn't displaced or anything. So now we'll see if I can get an imbalance back inside this range. That imbalance would give me kind of confirmation that buyers stepping in aggressive enough to possibly push this back up to the highs. We have been bullish. I mean, we are very bullish on a higher time frame. So unless that really changes, we'll see. In the meantime, give me a second. I'll be back. All right, let's see it. Let's see it. Seeing if we can get a reaction off this low here. Do buyers have it in them to really defend this level? It's a massive level too, so you would think if buyers can't step in here and defend this level, it's a really big red flag for this thing to keep going lower. Dun, 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 dun. Right now, it'd be looking pretty much to see if we can close back inside the range. We've already retested that level. This previous support level turned into resistance now. We've tested it once, so now if we really get buyers to step in, we could go for those highs again. Very likely. They're the buyers stepping in, trying to, at least. Who the heck is here? All right, they're defending it. Let's see it happen. Let's see it happen. Ooh. Ooh. Seller's trying to really take this lower. What are they gonna do? Let's push AMC again. You taking a trade? Yeah, I will take a trade if I can get a setup here. If I can get something good. Let's push AMC again. Dude, I remember those days. The good old AMC days. They just can't find the strength. What's your setup? I have a couple different things I look for. I pay attention to the 5-minute range and where the 5-minute range is in correlation to like view op and all that. So first strategy is kind of like a failure. So it's pretty much all of it is based off the 5-minute range. When we fail, when we kind of sweep, when we close below the 5-minute range and fail to go lower and buyers start stepping in aggressive, I look for the opposite side of the range to potentially get filled if we can get confirmation that buyers are aggressive enough, meaning leaving behind an imbalance. Other thing I look for is a break and retest. So when price forms structure, like kind of what happened right here. This is a perfect example, right? But I don't short above the view op area. So, but this is a good example how we had this kind of structure form right there. And when we have this kind of structure form and price starts to break through that structure and displace below it. So you see this big candle right here, closed below. That means it displaced. And then what did you have? That next candle opened up. It pushed up to retest that structure. And then it continued going lower. So you had that's called the break and retest. So you break that structure, you retest it to go lower. So that's another thing I look for is that break and retest. That's kind of the gist of how I trade. But I like to look for setups with the trend, with momentum. If we're above view op, I like to look for longs. I don't like to short above the view op and go against the trend and kind of wait for price to do its thing. And my goal is to find that moment of time, right? There are moments in time in trading in the market where you're like, oh, this is a good setup. Like, it's kind of like a light bulb. Like, this looks like it wants to go higher. And then once you could see that they want to take it higher, and then you just go with the flow. You go with them. Like kind of what it's starting to look like right now, but not quite just yet. Not quite. Like they're strong, but they're pushing this. Looking like it wants to go for those highs, possibly. Seeing if this thing is an imbalance. If this is an imbalance, then starting to potentially look good. As long as it doesn't leave me. I need to get my fill. So what needs to happen for me right now is it needs to leave behind an imbalance without taking the high and then retrace back, fill that imbalance to go higher. So depending on how this candle closes is going to determine for me. Before, see, no imbalance. So that means buyers weren't strong enough. So there's really nothing for me to go off of. I got to keep waiting. Oh, in the meantime, crap, I always forget to check news. Do we have news today? We had news at 8:30. That was that big move, most likely what happened. Yeah. So 10 o'clock, FOMC member speaks. Nothing really. So no news today either to be worried about. You can see buyers just don't have the strength right now too. Coming up on that 10 a.m. mark, so we could see maybe we come out. I've seen it happen too, where we kind of 10 a.m. rolls around, we take out the low one more time, and then we kind of start moving our way back up. Maybe it's just building this liquidity to get taken out. Maybe a lot of buyers are stepping in here, so a lot of orders starting to come into the books, and then they come back down, take out those orders to get filled, and then I've seen that happen. Almost looks like that's what they want to do today. Now, if it starts displacing below, for me, shorts, right now, I'm kind of long, I'm long bias right now. For me to be short bias, this thing would have to break these lows, break through VWAP, break through that pivot point, and really start trending down. Once we close below this pivot point, that's going to be like a short bias for me. We'd be switching to short bias, and then I would be looking at potentially targeting pre-market lows. Then my bias would be like, all right, they probably want to go for those pre-market lows down there. Only thing is, right, and when you look on, if you look at the hourly chart, right, these kind of equal highs up there, you can see it swept those highs. So the question is do they want to displace above those highs and continue pushing it up if we've already swept them? Buyers pushing it back up. There's just no imbalances. That's the problem for me. Like, as soon as buyers push it up, we get sellers take over, and vice versa. We're just stuck in this chop because we're around VWAP. VWAP area is very balanced price range, so don't know what it wants to do yet. I don't think it knows what it wants to do yet. Also, another thing, all right, if I can't get us set up inside this range, well, guess what? I can wait for price to break outside this high. Once it starts breaking through this high and starts displacing above and really starts getting momentum, then this becomes support, and I can wait for that pullback to go long. So there's plenty of opportunities. You just need to wait for it, instead of trying to guess and trying to go long at a random area and, you know, hope that it goes up. Right now, they're failing. Sellers are kind of taking over. We're just stuck in this chop, so there's really nothing to do in chop. Like I said earlier, this is the kind of a level, they're going to defend this level, right? This is a level to defend. So that's why you see those buyers stepping in at this level. We got a lot of support down here. Looks like they potentially want to go for that low one more time. Maybe take out that low would be nice, honestly. If it could take out the low one more time and get this V shape out of it. It's like as soon as buyers push it up, sellers just come back in. All right, 15 minute, let me see. So we did tap into this imbalance here. We just slightly tapped into this 15-minute imbalance. But from the other side, you see we do have room to the downside to kind of, let's see. We're holding this we're holding the 200 on the hourly time frame, I mean, that's a good bounce area. Not only is it pairing with this high up here as support, but then we have that 200 as support also holding it up. Makes sense why it's... And then on the 5-minute chart, we have an imbalance on the 5-minute chart that hasn't been filled yet. So potentially price, we'll see if price can get down there and fill that imbalance. Kind of curling to the downside, you see it form this structure. We kind of made this initial high, right? Then we kind of pushed up, took out the high one more time, displaced below. Now we're retesting this previous support, now turning into resistance to continue potentially pushing this down. Interesting. In order for me, like I said, in order for me to go short, I need to see this start breaking view up and really sellers really start taking this over. Right now they're holding view up still, so technically buyers are in control. All right. Bum 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 bum. Coming up on that 10 a.m. mark, so reversal, possible reversal time. Reversal meaning uptrend. Gosh, I hope this thing doesn't just chop all morning like this. Because if this thing just chops all morning, I mean, there's nothing I can do. What's your SMA set to 6 months or less? No, I have an EMA. I don't have an SMA. I have a 200 EMA. And the 200 EMA, I just kept it on the default settings. And that 200 EMA is just based on time frame. So it calculates the EMA based on the time frame, because I guess it's the past 200 candles. So it's going to be different on a 1 minute versus a 5 minute versus an hourly chart. We need to start like really displacing. Start finding momentum to one direction. The thing about it is, what you'll see a lot of times in NASDAQ is once it finds a direction, it starts going in that direction for morning action, right? You have this kind of chop sometimes, and then once it displaces above a high or above a low, then it really starts going to that direction, right? Retraces a little bit to continue back in that direction. That's kind of what I'm looking for to happen. You're like sitting there kind of waiting. They've taken out the high up there. So now we do have pre-market lows in place. So if they really start showing momentum to the downside and you're like, all right, they looks like they want to go for those lows down there, and then you just go with the momentum. That's just how I trade. Instead of like waking up and trying to guess like, oh, it's going up, let me try to long. And then you're just stuck in a trade inside chop, potentially getting stopped out. Let's see what it does here. I mean, if it starts displacing below these lows, it will be a potential short opportunity, but I gotta really have that confirmation. Right now, they're still holding it up. Here's a displacement potential. breaking below view op. Sellers really getting aggressive here. And then we also have, where's the next set of lows? Kind of down here in this, well, shoot. Still trying to hold the view up. Buyers coming, trying to come back in. Oh, let's go, NASDAQ. See how this candle closes. If this candle closes all the way bearish down here, then I would potentially look for that retracement. We got 20 seconds left in this candle. All right, looking bearish. Seeing if now if I can get a pop back up. All right. Let's see if I can get a pop back up here real quick. Come on! Retest it. Come on, retest it. Let's go. You know you want to. You know you want to. $10 a.m., so I gotta be careful for that reversal. It displaced, so... Ugh. Anything could happen, though. I'd have to have my, alright. Filled here. My stop would have to be above these highs. I can't be too risky with this, if it starts breaking those highs and going for these highs, well, then I don't even want to be in the trade anymore. We got an imbalance down there, so try to target just this imbalance down here. There's a slight imbalance down there, so seeing if price could really react off this view op, sellers can start stepping in, back it down to that imbalance. That could potentially want to get filled here. Going with the momentum. Sellers really starting to step back in at the view op area. There they come. There they come. Move out the way. Move out the way. Let's fill this imbalance. Boom. That's it. What else do you need? What else? Short is wild right now? How is it wild? I was looking for this, right? I said this before. You watch for that moment in time where you're like, oh, they want to go for this level. Look what happened. Right? We were stuck in this 5 minute range. We were just chopping. I was initially looking for a long setup. I was not short biased. I was looking for a long. There was no imbalances starting to form back inside this range. So there was no confirmation for me that they want to take this higher. And so I could see they don't want to take it higher. Buyers don't have enough strength to take it back up to those highs. Right? We've already taken out highs up here. So I understand why buyers aren't strong and aggressive to take it higher. So what ends up happening now, I said this before. I said, if we start displacing below the VWAP, below this level, I would be looking for shorts after that. So, right? We started to push down. And at these levels, you have to be careful for it not to be a sweep. Because if you jump in too fast, if you react too fast, it could just be a sweep, right? It could take out that level, and then it could start pushing back up. That's why you have to wait for the displacement. So this candle was still a sweep, right? You see this little wick right here? That was still a potential sweep. But this next candle, like I said, we got to wait for this next candle to open. Once this next candle opened up and closed all the way down here, now I'm like, that's a displacement. So now what I'm looking for is for price to come back up and retest this previous level of support, now turned into previous level of resistance. We also had a little imbalance there. So I just put my order at the beginning of that imbalance for it to just retest that level, sellers to come back in aggressively and go. The next thing down here is what I could see is there's an imbalance. So I know that this is the next level. Price could potentially want to just fill this imbalance. And we got support down here. So I'm not going to be too greedy, right? I'm just going to allow price to fill this imbalance, fill my order, and then go back up. And this thing can continue going lower to pre-market lows. We got lows down there. I mean, now this is confirming short trend. This is kind of like, this is again continue, just keep going lower and lower. I mean, I got what I wanted out of the market, right? I can't look at the market and go, you know, maybe I need to learn how to leave runners, because this would be like a good setup to leave runners. Maybe you take off like a little bit of your trade, and I just never have good experience with runners when I tried. In the end, based on data, what I've realized with runners for me personally is you'll get some trades, right, that you take a little bit off, you leave a runner, and then it'll come back up and stop you break even. And then those other trades where it does run, it just kind of makes up for the trades that. So I figured it's pretty much the same thing. Me leaving runners or me taking full positions off. Now, unless the market changes, right? If the market changes and I see a lot of continuation trades where it breaks the levels and it continues to that one direction, then I can kind of switch up my strategy to start leaving runners if I see that that's what the market's doing pretty frequently to take advantage. But if I see the market's choppy a lot of times where it doesn't really like pick a direction and go in that direction for a long time, then. Did you take any trades today before the last one? No, this was my first trade of the day. First trade of the day. We'll see. I mean, I'm still interested in trading. I mean, it's if I can get a good setup, but at the same time, the lower we go, the less inclined I am to kind of take a short. For me to see another short opportunity, what I would like to see is for price to potentially maybe pop back up here, take out these highs, form some structure, start breaking that structure back to the downside, displacing below it, and then, so. It's all just patience. Like, I like how one trader put it. It's moment in time. That's what the market is, a moment in time. You got to find your moment in time where you're like, all right, they want to go here. This is what they want to do. And obviously sometimes it doesn't work. Like, this is why you have stop losses in place. This is why I had a stop above these highs right here. Because I figured, right, they're going to retest this. They're going to retest this level right here, right? I don't know. I'm assuming sellers are going to step back in, right? That's what I'm assuming. If I'm wrong and buyers step back in aggressively and we start pushing above, and we start pushing above this high right here, I don't even want to be in the trade because we're probably going to go for the next high up here. So then I'm just accept that I'm wrong and I get out of the trade and I wait for something else. And that's all it is. You never know 100%. You can put yourself in a position where you're like, oh, they probably want to go to this level. God, I should have left a runner here, huh? Crap. What a freaking move down. Look at this. Look on the 15-minute chart. Holy crap. It took out that high and then just complete waterfall all the way back down. I wonder how many people tried to long and tried to catch this. I guarantee you a lot of people tried to long. Well, this is why also I say I don't try to long below view op. Once we started breaking view op, that was my initial red flag that we could potentially continue going lower. View op is a big line in the sand. That's something I think every trader should pay attention to. And just look for trades in with the direction. If we're above view op, bulls are in control, go with the bulls. If we're below view op, bears are in control, go with the bears. Like, right, you're usually told in life, you don't want to go with the crowd. Like in life, right? Don't be a follower. You're always told that's true in life, but with trading, that you absolutely want to be a follower in trading. Whatever they're doing, right? You're like kind of the bandwagon person. Right? You're the person that only watches, you don't watch football, but you just watch the Super Bowl. You're kind of like, you wait for the ending. You're kind of like hopping on the bandwagon of whoever the best team is. It's what you got to do in trading. You just got to hop on the wagon of whoever's controlling the market. Whoever's winning. If bears are winning, you just go with the bears. I'm on their team. If bulls are winning, then I'm on their team. Me, I tried to long. It's fine. I mean, it's I mean, I could see why people would try to long. I can't say a long setup was bad. It's just not something I was looking for. I mean, I was technically looking for a long setup, but this is why you have to have also, like, what I think is you have to have confirmations. Like, wait for, if you have specific levels, wait for certain confirmations to happen, right? For maybe an imbalance, right? If you're trying to take it off a certain level, maybe imbalance to form before you get into the trade. Some kind of confirmation to really show you that they're trying to push it back up. And that's what I was looking for in this 5-minute range right here. I was waiting for an imbalance to form. I would have went long if imbalance formed, to be honest with you. I would have went long. But I just seen that we're not getting the strength that I want to see. So I waited for them to push it lower for me to go short. Gosh. Man. These are the kind of days where I'm just like, man, if I would have just left a short, I would have been banking right now. It's all right. again, you can't beat yourself up about taking profits early too, because then the next time you take profits early, guess what's gonna happen? Or you don't take profits next time, it's gonna reverse and stop you out, and then you're really gonna be. And there's pre-market in play now. We're going for that pre-market level. Pre-market is at, well, I'll show you on the hourly chart. Probably could see it. So we got pre-market down here. It's like 147 level. So I said this before. What's funny is I said that in the morning. If we start to displace below view op and show, they're probably gonna want to go for pre-market lows. And what do you know? As soon as we broke through view op or retested that level, we're going to pre-market lows. Like immediate waterfall down to pre-market lows. We had a couple imbalances that are holding us up, but oh man, that's my back. I need. But you know, if you tried to long, I mean, it's fine. You gotta. The only thing you can be pissed at yourself about is if you broke your rules, right? If you tried to long and it was your setup, you can't be mad at that. The only thing you can be mad at is if you broke your rules. For example, like for me, I have a rule of I do not long above view op, right? Very rare situations, but I do not short above view op. Now, there are situations where I would potentially like long below view op if that 5-minute range gives me a good setup and I see buyers are stepping in aggressive and I see pretty much in price that there is nothing stopping price to getting to a certain level, and I can see this buyers are stepping in, I will potentially take a long below view op on rare occasions. That's a rare occasion. That's something like I gotta see certain stuff happen, right, for it to kind of be a straight shot. Like if I see a lot of imbalances like this, then I wouldn't even try it because there's too much things holding price down. It's got to be a pretty much like clean shot to a certain target. All right, we took out pre-market lows. Now buyers starting to step in aggressively. I didn't take profits and it reversed. That's why I'm low-key pissed. Yeah, and that's why I was talking about. I've got trust me, I've been in that situation so many times. That's why when I went short, I looked at the next level. I'm like, all right, we could potentially next levels fill this imbalance down here. And so I'm like, it's a good risk to reward. It's a 1-to-1 risk to reward. So I'm just gonna take a 1-to-1 because I've seen it. And trust me, it's happened to me too, where I got greedy and I'm like, you know what? Let me let this ride. This has so much room to the downside. Let me just let it ride. I don't take profits and it reverses and it freaking just stops me out. And then I'm like, if I would have just taken profits, I would have been up instead of down on the day. So yeah, you can, if you broke your rules, then it's something like you just gotta make sure next time not to break your rules. I guess it's something we all go through and you kind of learn. And like I said, you could even leave runners if that's something that you could try doing. If you want, you know, take profits, take maybe half off at a certain level and leave the rest running. But my opinion, base hits add up. Just like this is what I really like preach about in trading. Base hits add up. Just like death by 1,000 cuts in trading also can blow your account if your stop loss is too tight. Same thing. Base hits add up. If you take a base hit here, right? Took a base hit yesterday. I made money yesterday taking a base hit. I made money today taking a base hit. If I come back tomorrow, make another money. Make some more money tomorrow. Base hit, base hit, base hit, base hit. And then at the end of the month, you look back and you have all these base hits and you're like, nice, I made a decent chunk of money. Versus if you got greedy, you may have even lost money if you would have been greedy. None of these lines work. None of these lines work. Everyone follows. What do you mean? What do you mean none of these lines work? You talking about the lines on my chart, or you're talking about the lines I'm spitting? Yeah, I mean, it's one thing you don't like. When I say you want to be a follower in trading, you want to go with the trend, is what I mean. You don't want to copy people in trading. If you're that person that just tries to go and just copy one trader, copy another trader, one thing you got to know, most people are just BS. Most people aren't like actual good. I don't even consider myself like a good trader. I'm not at that level yet to consider myself that. I'm the only person that's going to actually admit that, because I have nothing to sell to you, right? So because I have nothing to sell to you, I can be honest with you. If I had something to sell to you, I would lie and try to BS you so you could buy my course. But guess what? I have nothing. So I have no benefit BSing you. I'm just teaching you. I'm just trying to share with you what I've learned in my trading. And I've learned, like what we talked about earlier, right? Not taking profits. I've learned the hard way. I've gotten wrecked so many times by being greedy and not taking profits. Who do you think is a valid trader? To be honest, right now, I think Rips is really the only trader that I could personally see that's kind of a valid trader. I mean, obviously, I don't know him personally, so I can't really, like, you just never know a person. I mean, from what I see, to me right now, from what I see, I think he's the most valid trader right now in the market. Because he doesn't trade, he trades live accounts. He doesn't really trade prop firm accounts. So he's like an actual, like, he posts his broker statements and all that. He's been trading for like 11 years. So, I mean, he's at a completely different level. The problem with prop firm accounts is, like, if somebody trades prop firms, it's completely fine, right? I trade prop firms. But the problem with prop firms is you got to be careful when you see a lot of these traders with prop firm accounts showing all these crazy P&Ls. What they're not showing you is how many accounts they're blowing, right? They're not showing you that aspect of it. And so that's the only thing you got to be careful of. Like, from a content perspective, like, there's a lot of traders that, you know, one thing is, like, I think you gotta be, to be a good trader, you gotta be hungry for it. You gotta love to do it. And when you love to do it, you watch this trader. You maybe one trader can teach you something, right? And then you go to another trader and he can teach you something. And then you're so hungry to learn that you take a snippet from this trader, you take a snippet from this trader, and you kind of like, you see what strategy kind of resonates with you. What strategy are you able to see? And kind of like build your own system kind of around that strategy. Because the problem also is a strategy that works for one person may not work for another person because it's psychology based. Right? This strategy may not work with your psychology. But for me, my opinion, I think the easiest strategy to learn is break and retest strategy. I mean, you see so many break and retests in the market, you just gotta have the right, like we had one, right? Break, retest. This is the trade that I took. Then it happened again, right? We broke this level, retested this to go lower. So it happens all the time. It's just like, you gotta, you know. Same thing happened here in the morning. Obviously, I didn't take this one because we're above VWAP. I don't want to long above. I mean, I don't want to short above the VWAP. So, but we broke it, retested it. See this level? Broke it, retested it to go lower. Holy crap, this thing is... Bruh! Oh my gosh. Bro, look at the hourly chart. That is absolutely insane. Hold on. No, 15 minute. Look at the 15-minute chart. We just like gave everything up. 8 o'clock news, 8:30 news came out. We absolutely rocketed to the upside and then just absolutely gave everything back. Straight back down. And this is a perfect example why you also have stop losses. Can you imagine somebody like taking a long in this imbalance right here? Right? He takes a long in this imbalance. Is like, all right, we have a bunch of imbalances for price. There's so much for price to get held up right here. He's like, all right, let me move my stop loss to this imbalance. Right? And then price starts going. He's like, oh, let me move my stop. Actually, it can bounce off this high right here. Let me move my stop down. And by the time you know, it keeps moving his stop down and your account gets blown. I guarantee you, dude, I would bet money on it that somebody blew their account in this move right here. Somebody, there's a trader out there who did not cut his loss, who tried to long, right? Did not get stopped out because he didn't have a stop loss, or he canceled his stop loss, or he kept moving his stop loss, or she, and just blew their account. I guarantee you there's somebody out there that did that. So the direction is to sell. Yeah, anytime we're below view op, we're in selling territory. Anytime we're above view op, we're in buying territory. And you can see once we got, right, view op is, where's view op? View op is right here. Right where that gold line is right there, that's where view op was. What happened when we broke view op? We retested it, and look what happened once we actually picked the direction when we're below view op. Look at that, just straight waterfall to the downside. Absolute, like, you would go with the direction. Like, and if you went with the direction, you couldn't have, how would you, unless your stop loss was insanely tight, you really couldn't have lost unless your stop loss was tight. Other than that, I mean, it's just like, look at this, straight waterfall down. And it's still going lower. Now we've already displaced below pre-market lows. But we're at a point now where it's like, we've dropped so much that I would be just nervous taking a short setup. Because at some point, this thing is going to start trending back up. You don't know when that's going to happen. Could be right now. It could be... So your confirmation for a short was not seeing an imbalance for the upside. No, that wasn't my confirmation for a short. That was just, right? So my confirmation was a short right here. We had this low get put in right here, right? And remember, if you were on when I started the live stream at 9:30 in the morning, what I was saying was we started to pull back, right? Here's when price opened up, right up here. And we started to pull back, and I said, right, I saw we have the 200 right there, we have a pivot point down here, and we have the view op right where that 200 is. There are a lot of, like, that's a very big level of support. So I said, buyers are going to potentially try to, you know, hold this up. So that's what they did, right? They bounced off, they tried to hold it up, we got to move back up, and I said I'm not gonna be short biased until we start breaking below view op, breaking below that pit. Like, unless we start breaking all this and then really showing the direction to the downside, then I would be changing my bias to a short. So the fact that we broke this low right here, we displaced below that low, we broke through the 200, we broke through the view op. That was my confirmation of like, all right, they look like they want to go lower. So you just wait for the retracement to be able to get on the train to go lower. So the fact that we didn't get an imbalance to the upside was partially the reason. And also, here's another thing why we've already taken out, if you look on a higher time frame, we took out highs up here. So when we take out highs and we start moving to the downside, you got to be very careful, because you got to think, do they want to go higher if they've already taken out those highs? Right? If we've already taken out highs, the probability becomes lower that we're going to go back up to those highs. Now, it's possible that we do. I've seen it happen plenty of times, but it just becomes a lot lower probability setup for a long. The fact that we've already taken out highs up there and then price starts moving down. So you got to look for reasons to potentially not take the trade too. Now, if we wouldn't have taken highs up here, I mean, longs would look a lot better. But the fact that we took out highs, we didn't get an imbalance, buyers just weren't strong enough. But yeah. Holy. All right, trying to bounce off this, what's it called? Pivot point. Doji? Yeah. Yeah, this is a doji candle right there. Look at these pivot points. I mean, these pivot points are like... Look at that. Look at all the pivot points. I mean, bruh. We hit this pivot point. I'm not advising taking trades off of pivot points. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just pointing out how well these pivot points work. So you got to bounce. Look at that. Hit this pivot point. Buyers started to step in. Now, they couldn't hold it up, but... And then look at this. The next pivot point. They're good gauges. So if I'm in a short... and I see pivot points, I understand that price could bounce off them. So either I take profits accordingly, or... Now that we've displaced pre-market lows, I don't know. I mean, price could rebalance. Price could kind of come up, retest those pre-market low levels to continue going down. But then again, you think at some point this thing's going to start reversing back up to VWAP. VWAP is average price. Volume weighted average price. So at some point, price is going to retrace back up to VWAP. Damn, I would have passed my account if I didn't hit my stop loss at 25.34275 perfectly. 25.34275. 25. Oh, dang. Wow, you guys stopped out at the very top of the short. You literally got stopped out on my entry point where I went short. But here's the thing. Here's one thing I would say, right? You got to be careful. You got to put your stop loss. Make sure that you don't put your stop loss just because of like dollar amount. I see people doing that where they would put their stop loss because, like, for example, I only want to risk X amount of dollars, so my stop loss has to be right there. You have to size according to the chart, right? So if for invalidation, for example, if my stop loss has to be above a certain high, then I have to calculate how much contracts do I need to take in order for me to only risk the dollar amount I want to risk. So always put your stop loss based on market structure, not based on dollar amount. Now, dollar amount, you figure out how much contracts in order to take to be able to only risk the dollar amount you want to risk, but always put your stop loss in an area of invalidation. The problem that I see with like a stop loss in this area is you're putting a stop loss at an area where sellers are potentially going to start stepping in. That's another reason why I had my stop loss above these highs right here. Because I figured if buyers start stepping in and we fail to hold this as resistance and buyers start pushing through it, then we're probably going to go to these highs up here. And I don't even want to be in the trade anymore. So that's one thing I would just say. Just make sure you put your stop loss in an area of invalidation. Like an area where if price goes to that level, you're like, I don't even want to be in the trade if price even goes to that level. So how low do you think NQ going? I mean, at this point, I don't know. Right now, it's retracing. It's rebalancing to pre-market lows. So, here, let me show you. If you look on 15-minute chart, right? We're retracing back up to 15-minute lows, retesting that, right? We broke through it. We displaced. Now we're retesting it. So, I mean, let's go on the hourly chart. If you go on an hourly chart and you look at higher time frame wise, right, we're displacing below 15-minute lows. In my eyes, the next level down there is, right, we got this 966 level. Here, let me zoom in a little bit. I don't know if you could see that. Yeah, so we got, right, we got these pre-market lows that it's displacing below. Now we got the next set of lows down here, which was February 8th lows. And we'll see. At some point, it's going to take out a low or hit a certain level and start bounce. The thing about it is you don't know what level. It could start bouncing right now, or it could take out these lows and start bouncing, or it could take out these lows and start bouncing. It's just like the lower it goes, then higher probability it's going to bounce at some point. So, but you would just look at levels. All right, price can't hold this level, so what's the next level it's going to go to if it can't hold this level? So if it holds pre-market lows as resistance and continues going down, then, right, like I said, the next level is that 952 level in play. It right now is just retesting it and seeing, this is the line in the sand. We'll see what happens here. If sellers or buyers. Dun, 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 dun. What time is it? 10:30. SPC. What is SPC? SPC. SPCA? SPC? SPCE. Is that? I only look at NASDAQ. I try not to focus on any other stocks. Right? There's a Bruce Lee quote that I really like. Right? You don't have to be scared of the person that's done 10,000 kicks once. You have to be scared of the person that's done one kick 10,000 times. Similar to trading, right? I don't want to be an expert and try to trade Tesla and try to trade Apple and try to trade SPY and try to trade gold and silver and this and that, and then you're just jumping all over the place. I want to be an expert at one thing. I want to be an expert at NASDAQ. I want to trade NASDAQ every day. I want to know its quirks. I want to know what it likes to do, where it likes to reverse, what it likes to do, its characteristics, and then I could become a better trader knowing that. Just be an expert at one thing instead of trying to master everything. So that's why I kind of try not to look at any other stocks. I don't really care what Apple's doing. I don't really care what any other stocks are doing. I just look at NASDAQ and see what it's doing. I know some people look at other stocks as like confluences. Like some people look at Tesla or Apple as like, if Apple's moving up, then, you know. As soon as I try to trade more than ES, I see my balance magically shrinking. Yeah, because you have to find your edge. You have to find your edge, and like the thing about it is different things move differently. Like SPY moves a little differently. Even SPY moves differently than NASDAQ. So it's like you have all these things moving differently and you're jumping around. You don't know how it's moving because you don't trade it that often. Just stick to what you're good at. Like NASDAQ, SPY, there's plenty of price action every single day in NASDAQ and SPY to be able to take advantage of. Like look at this move today. There's so much like opportunity in NASDAQ and SPY to take advantage of that. Oh crap, I just moved I don't think there's a reason to jump around. And not only jumping around the stocks, people strategy hop. Like for a new trader, strategy hopping is fine, but at some point you gotta stop strategy hopping because that's also another thing that, I mean, I've struggled with that too, where it's like even if you have a strategy, it won't work, you know, it won't work really good all the time. There are gonna be times, no matter every strategy where it doesn't work as good. And then what people do is they stop using that strategy and hop onto another strategy. And it's like, if you're just gonna spend your whole trading career just hopping from strategy to strategy, another thing, you're never gonna be a master at one thing. You're just gonna be, you're gonna be like kind of an expert, not really expert at a lot of things, because you're just hopping around. So you're kind of have base knowledge level of a lot of things, but you're not an expert at one thing, at one strategy, at one indice. Y'all heard that all this flack that, what's it called, it's getting? Ooh, Top Step. Top Step's getting so much crap. Everyone's freaking bashing on Top Step. Apparently they put, on their live accounts, they have like an intraday trailing drawdown on their live accounts. All right, we're starting to break pre-market lows. I mean, pre-market high. Pre-market lows starting to break above it. So, sellers failed to defend that level. So now it's looking like we're potentially going to rebalance back up to VWAP. Man. Retracing back up to VWAP. We have, all right, VWAP is at, oh, we got a long ways to VWAP. VWAP's at 274. VWAP's all the way where that gold line is, so there's a lot of room to VWAP. But there's also a lot of room, the next level of highs up here, and next kind of level to watch out for, that we could potentially sweep that level and start going back down. Let's get it. I'm gonna play some music. Freaking hey! Stop yawning! I think I need to start eating a breakfast or something, man. This is like... Or I need to pop a neuro gum. That's what I need to do. Bro, that neuro gum actually works. A neurogum crap actually does work. I can see a difference. I used to chew it every morning, and it really gets you like more in a mindset of you actually want to like do stuff. You're pumped to trade. You're pumped to. Without it, I'm just like yawning and all this crap. All right, it hasn't taken out that high yet. If I would see a good setup up here, I mean, I would take another trade. If I see a good setup. If it could really retrace back to VWAP, form some structure, and starts breaking it, there may be an opportunity for a scalp. Bum, 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 bum. All right, we're about to take out that high. I'm just interested to see what it even does. If it takes out this high or just double topping right now. Again, that's like the next level in the sand where price could reverse. We've already kind of 15-minute chart. You can see we are kind of still holding that. Oh, there's also an imbalance there, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens here. Does it hold it as resistance, or if it starts displacing above, back inside, then different story. I mean, there's so many imbalances to the upside that could potentially hold price down. So I don't think it would be smart to even try to along this right here. But everyone has their own strategy. Everyone has their own way of trading. So you can't really say this strategy sucks, that strategy sucks. It's like, if it works for someone, it may suck for you. But if it works for someone else, then who am I to say that a strategy sucks? If it works for you. The crazy part is, like, you can have a strategy where it may not work for someone else, but if you kind of have the proper risk management, you can make a strategy. I almost feel like you can make a strategy work with proper risk management. Like, you can probably take a broken strategy and implement a good risk management system to make it work. All right, taking out these highs to see what happens here. Tapping into an imbalance, see if sellers start stepping in here. Or I would assume sellers try to step back in. Oh, crap. I just gotta... My bad. Oh, man. Let's go. Dum, 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 dum. Man, I need some music. I need to figure out how to play some connect music too. But the problem is, I think won't TikTok flag you for copyright? I gotta find some copyright or some. Or I gotta start making my own music. Told you, sellers are going to try to step in there. Look at that. Sellers stepping in right. How do I know this stuff? It's almost like I'm one with the market. I'm one. Got to be one with the market. Don't trade the market. Be the market. All right, if anyone has any question, I'm going to hop off in like 12 minutes. It's about to be 11 o'clock, so if you have any questions about prop firms, anything, feel free to ask. I don't get pissed off about questions. So, kind of forming some structure here. Looks like this may want to go lower here. Failing to really displace above. You look on a higher time frame, what's going on, right? We're starting to wick. Starting to wick. Told you that's, and we're tapping into a 15-minute imbalance there, just filling it just slightly. All right, and this is why I say you look for next levels. Like, okay, look, take a look at this, right? When price was pushing up here, let's just say right here, price, this green candle, can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. That green candle right there. Right there. Now, from a standpoint of where do you think price wants to go? Now, we do have a resistance level. This old support turns into resistance. That's the first line in the sand that price has to get through. After it gets through that level, the next line in the sand is going to be these highs up here, right? So that's kind of how I look at where the next level is, that potentially. After this level, if it was to displace above, right? If it was to displace and not sweep, then you're looking at next line in the sand is going to be that 258 level. You're probably going to have a lot of sellers try to step in there. After that, then you got a high up here. After that, then you get a high up here. You have a couple imbalance. Like, you just, right? That's how I figured we're going for that high. I'm like, price could potentially sweep this high and go lower. I mean, it's not magic. It's just like, you just know what the next level they have to get through. And if they can't get through it, guess what? They're going down. Failed to displace really above pre-market lows. We tested pre-market lows and we're going back down. It did actually a little bit, displace a little bit. If you look on 15-minute chart, right? This is pre-market lows. So it did kind of push above. And then after it pushed above, the next level was this right here. That 206 level of resistance. Then you have a 225 level of resistance. And so and so on. So and so on. So and so on. So and so. Wait. The problem is with this moment in time right now, we've already taken out pre-market lows. We've like what other targets are there? Like, you don't know. It's like now it could just chop. We've taken out highs up there. We've taken out lows down there. It's taken out its objectives, and now we're just kind of going sideways. You don't really know. On smaller time frames, you can look at levels and go, all right, this is the next level, this is the next level. But smaller levels don't hold as much weight as larger levels. So oh, all right, starting to displace above this high. No, not yet, but almost looking like it wants to. And then we got view up here where that gold line is. There's view up. So remember, I said at some point this thing's gonna want to retrace back up to view up. So and view op's that line in the sand. We could have get a rejection off view op possibly. So, all right, I'm out. I think it's almost 11 o'clock. Kind of a one and done day. So, took the setup and got nothing else after that first trade that I saw good. I don't need more than one trade a day. If I get more than one trade a day, awesome. But if I don't, it is perfectly fine with me. All right, tapping into view op. Now you got to be careful of this holding as support. If this thing pulls back, this thing could hold as support. So, old resistance turns into new support once it breaks it. Or could. View op 274, yeah. Wait, no it's not. View op is at 266. $265. 266 is view op. We're pretty much almost tapping into it. It's right. We're pretty much where that gold line is. Right above that gold line is view op. So, all right. Yeah. I'm going to hop off at this point. It's 11 o'clock. Price is probably going to start to die down. Volume starts to die down. I'm going to move on with my day and be happy about my profits for today. Come back tomorrow. So, y'all have a good day. Don't overtrade. Before I leave, right? I heard someone talking the other day. Someone made this video of like, you know, it started to trade. One thing went wrong. And then not too long after, they were down $3,000. Please, for the love of God, don't do that. If give yourself rules. Like for me, I have a rule. If I take 2 losing trades in a row, I walk out. There is no possible way I'm taking more than 2 losses in a row. If I take 2 losses in a row, that means I'm not seeing the market. The market's not moving the way. I'm not seeing it clearly at all. So I have to walk away. That will happen. That does happen. Every trader goes through that. So you have to be able to know when to walk away. If you took a loss and you're not seeing anything else, walk away. Don't force things just to make back your loss. Right? Tomorrow is going to be different price action. You're going to get different setups tomorrow. If you don't see anything anymore today, come back tomorrow. There's going to be more setups tomorrow. It's going to be potentially better price action, more clear. But one thing you don't want to do is dig yourself into a hole. Don't do that. Like, please don't learn the hard way. Don't keep blowing accounts. Learn when to walk away. Other than that, I'm going to leave it on that. So y'all stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.